Hello everyone, this is Kenneth Bruni from Tech, and welcome back to the channel. So in this series of videos, we are learning Python, and this is specifically SENG 207 programming for engineers. So this is a little drift away from what we have been learning, which is Python. Now in this particular video, we are going to look at markup languages. And to be more specific, we are going to look at Markdown. So Markdown is obviously a markup language, and a markup language is not a programming language because we cannot use it to implement logic and other things like we see. But then there are a couple of reasons why we need to learn Markdown to do certain things, and we are going to see the usefulness of this as we move along. So here I've opened in my web browser markdownguide.org. I'll leave this link in the description, and you can go onto this site and you can have all the information we have over here. Now you can spend time to read, which I encourage you to do so, but I'm going to quickly go through some of the things we need over here. So now let's click on this link we have over here, get started. So in here there's a little bit of background info and getting started. So there's an overview of Markdown, how it works and what you can do with it. So what exactly is Markdown? So Markdown is a lightweight markup language that you can use to add formatting elements to plain text documents. Now this was created by a man called John Gruber in 2004. Markdown is one of the world's most popular markup languages, and the notes goes on and on and on. So the key important things are the ones I want to highlight over here. So why use Markdown? And there are a number of reasons why you can use Markdown. Now the first over here is Markdown can be used for everything, but most people would use it to create websites, documents, notes, books, presentation, email messages, and technical documentation. Now, in my own experience of using Markdown, I normally use Markdown for technical documentation, and also when I'm working with the Jupyter environment, where I would sometimes want to combine my code with some information in there. And of course, when it comes to technical documentation, we are later going to learn Git and GitHub. You would see some of the usefulness of Markdown. So you can read the information over here, and I think this will do you a lot of good. So at least we know what this Markdown is. It is a markup language, and what markup languages basically does is we just writing documents. So just as maybe you are writing a letter or some document, but then we'd want to put it in a structure so that we can format things properly. And in this link, you could see that we have some basic syntax, extended syntax, and there's a cheat sheet over here. So you can check out on all these links and see exactly what we have over here. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my desktop and quickly run you through what we are going to work on. So on my desktop, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this folder Markdown. So here you have Markdown. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I have this image, which is a flowchart image. I'm going to drag this into this folder. So now when I open this up, you see that I have my folder with this image only. Now I'll open this up in VS Code. So I have VS Code open up, and I'm going to click on File, and I'll click on Open Folder, and I'll navigate through my system. Remember, the folder is on desktop, so I'll click on desktop, and then I'll select this Markdown folder, and finally select or click this button to select. So here I have this image. I'm later going to work with this image. That's why I wanted it here. So I'm just going to close this up, and now I'm going to create a Markdown file. So now in order to create a Markdown file, I'll just click here, and once again I'll click on this, and I'm going to say, or I'm going to call this document. So here I have document, and the extension we use for Markdown is a .md extension. So just as we were working with Python, you saw that we had the .py extension for Python files. Markdowns, or to work with Markdown, we also need the .md extension. Now I'll collapse this, and immediately I open it up this way, you have this preview document.md showing up over here. Now let me collapse this, or let me close this. Now you may not have that in your system, and that's probably because you haven't downloaded an extension that I already have. So you can click on this extensions button, and of course you need an internet connection for this. And the extension that I'm using is what I have here as this one, Auto Markdown. So I'll just click on it. So this is the extension, and it says Auto Open Markdown Preview. So all that you can do is just search for Auto, and you do open and Markdown, and just by doing this, I think this is going to search through, and here you have this one. So you should have something like this, okay? And currently you could see that it has about 371,000 downloads. There are other extensions that will probably do the same thing, but I think in order for you to follow through with exactly what I'm doing, you need this extension. So I'll collapse this, but then if you are doing this for the first time, you could see that you are going to have an install button over here. All right, so now that I have this, anytime I create a Markdown file, it is automatically going to detect it and give me a preview of it. So now that I've closed it, where do I get it back? So initially you saw that the window was split into two, where I had a preview of it. Now in order to get it back, you just have to click on this icon we have over here. When you hover around this, it says open preview to the slide. And now when I click on this, you see that I have the preview of this document.md file I have over here. So then let's start with the basic syntax. And now we are going to start with the headings. So in order to have a heading, you just need this character, which is the hash character over here. Then you give a space. So I'm going to say heading 1. So it's as simple as this, the hash character and heading 1. And please, the space over here is very important, because if you don't bring any space, then it is not going to be previewed exactly how you wanted it. So the space is important. So now if we have heading 1, then if your guess is as good as mine, we can also have heading 2, and that also starts with 2 hash characters, and we have heading 2. So I'll call this heading 2. So clearly you could see that the font size of heading 1 is definitely bigger than that of heading 2, and the difference over here is not in the text, but then in the hashes I have over here. So even if I say this is heading 2, this is still bigger than this, and that's simply because of the hash we have over here. So now let's move on to heading 3, and if your guess is as good as mine, that's as simple as 1 2 3 hashes, then the space, then I'll say heading 3. So you can see that the heading, or the lower you go in terms of the heading, then the smaller it becomes. Then I can do 1 2 3 4, and I'll say heading 4. Then I'll do 1 2 3 5. Sorry, 1 2 3 4 5 for heading 5. Then I'll do 1 2 3 4 5 6 for heading 6. So I'll do heading 6 over here. So clearly you can see the differences over here. Now somebody may be asking, now let's do heading 7, and let's try it and see. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Clearly if we do this, it is not recognized as a heading. So clearly you could see that it doesn't work. So basically the heading starts from 1 and ends with 6, but the higher we go in terms of the numbers, then the lower the font sizes gets. So these were headings. Now clearly you could see that for heading 1, anytime we have heading 1, there's going to be a horizontal rule under it. So let me try it another one again and say main, let me say main heading. And it doesn't really matter the text we have, but then the most important thing is if it is heading 1, then it's going to have a horizontal rule. So just keep in mind. And let's look at the other syntax that we can use. So now let's look at how we bring about a paragraph. So for a paragraph, we can just type this is a paragraph this way. So just as this is a paragraph, we are good to go. Over here we don't have any heading or any hash symbol that we use over here. It's as simple as this. Now let's say after this paragraph I want to have a horizontal rule. So in order to get a horizontal row, we simply use a triple dash. So I'll do dash dash dash, and as you can see, this is going to create a horizontal row over here. Now there are several ways of killing a cat. We can combine Markdown and HTML. So those of you who are very familiar with HTML, if we are to do, for instance, bring in this angle bracket and do HR, this is also a horizontal row. So just by way of information, we can either use the Markdown way, which is a triple dash, or we can use the HTML approach, which is an angle bracket or a bracket, and inside of it we have the horizontal row. So now the next thing we are going to look at, let me just scroll down a little bit. So over here, I just want to give, for instance, maybe a heading 1, 2, 3 for the heading 3, and let's start with an ordered list. So I'm going to say an ordered list. And in order to format things nicely, let me just do a triple dash over here to have my horizontal row. So for the ordered list, this is how we go about it. We want to have a list where we have everything numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order. So what I can do is, in order to get an ordered list, I just do 1 dot and I leave a space, and I can say item 1 over here. Then I come down 2 dots, item 2. So I can go on and on, 3 dot space, item 3. Okay, so you see this has been ordered this way. Now let's say I come in between item 1 and item 2, and for instance do a 4 dots and say new item. Now clearly the numbering over here in terms of what I have over here is 1, 4, 2, 3, but what is being previewed and what everybody is going to see at the end of the day is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it doesn't really matter how you put it out over here, the order is going to follow this chronological order as we have over here. So indeed we can simply even do 1, 1, 1, 1, but then it is going to follow this order 1, 2, 3, 4. But then I also advise students to do things that will make their life very simple for them. So this is an ordered list. Now let's look at an unordered list. So I'll do this to get the heading 3, and I'll say unordered. So unordered list, and I'll do 1, 2, 3 dashes to get my horizontal row. So I'll come down here, and to get an unordered list, there are 2 methods, and I'm going to show you each and every one of them. So I can do a dash, and I'll leave a space, and I'll say item 1, and I'll press enter. I'll leave a dash, leave a space, and I say item 2, a dash, space, item 3, and we can go on and on and on. So this is one way of doing this. Now the other way of doing this is also we can use a star. So when I do star and leave a space, and I say, for instance, new item 1, it is still going to work. And I can also leave star and a space, and I'm going to say new item 2. So both of them is definitely going to give you the same thing. You just have to select one of them, and I prefer using this 1 dash over here. It's as simple as that. So now let's move on to the other examples we have over here, and that's going to be text formatting. So I'm going to do 3 hashes over here, and I'm going to say text formatting. How can we format our text in Markdown? And I'll bring in 1, 2, 3 for the horizontal row. So for text formatting, if let's say you want to bolding or highlight a text, there are some few things we can do. So now let's start with the bolding. So let's say this text is bold, and let's assume I want to bolding the text bold over here. So what I then need to do is I can simply do 2 stars and 2 stars. Basically, I'm sandwiching whichever text I want to bold in 2 stars we have over here. So this is one way of doing it, and there's also another way which I'm going to show you. So let's say I have in here this text is bold. Now clearly you could see that I'm writing on a separate line, but then it is continuing over here. Now, in order to really separate this line, we just have to bring in a space over here. So that's very critical when it comes to text formatting over here. So the other way of also bolding in this text is to use a double underscore and a double underscore. So we are sandwiching whatever text you want to bold in into double underscores, or in double underscores basically. So clearly it is not too visible over here, but then you could see that the text we have over here bold is boldened, and this is also boldened. So now let's look at how we come about with italic. I can say this text is italic, and in order to get my text italicized, I just need to bring in 1 star, or sandwich the text in 1 star. So currently you can see that this italic is italicized. Then let me have the other technique. So that's also just 1 underscore, and I can use 1 underscore over here to implement the same thing. So now, what if you want to bolden and italicize our text? So I can say this text is bold and italic. So in order to get that, I simply have to more or less combine this. So what I can do is I can do, for instance, a star. Okay, first of all, the star is going to bolden what we have over here, and in order to have it italic, I can now come in here and come and do an italic this way. So you can see that this is bolding and italic at the same time. So this is good. Now let's look at one last example when it comes to text formatting. So I'm going to say this is cancelled. So in order to strike through this, we use the tilde character, and that's what we have over here. So we can use the tilde character, 2 of them actually, and another 2, and you can see that now the word cancel has been cancelled actually. And if we actually want to cancel the whole thing, I just have to come in here and use this tilde character. Now this tilde character is a character you have just under your escape key, but then you need to do a shift and press that key to have this. So this is looking good. Now let's look at some interesting things we can do, and let me have what I call a task list. Now I'll do this triple dash to get my horizontal rule, and this is what I want. We can do, for instance, dash. This is like a list actually, and now we can have this, and I can say item 1, and I'll do a dash, then bring the square brackets, and this is going to be item 2, then dash and a square bracket, and this is item 3. So basically this is like a to-do list where we can check the ones that has been completed and stuff like that. So this is just a task list. Now the next one we are going to look at is tables. So let me just do triple dash hash over here, and let's look at tables. And let me just bring my horizontal rule over here. So in order to get a table, we need to use the pipe character. So now this is the pipe character, like the straight slash, and this is also the key just under my backspace, okay, or just above your enter key. And in order to get this, you also need to use the shift and bring it up this way. So let's say we have a table, and for the table, let's say I have a column name as number, and then the next one I want over here is name, and I want date over here. So we are wrapping everything up. It's like you drawing it up, okay? Then when you come down, we also need to bring this down and bring in a minimum of 3 dashes over here. Then I'll bring in this and a minimum of 3 dashes over here, bring in this and a minimum of 3 dashes over here, okay, and bring in this back. So you can see that clearly we are now getting a table. So the next obvious thing to do is to bring in the data. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy what I have over here, paste it down, and in here I'm just going to add in the data. So I'm going to say 1, and I'm going to say Kwame Nkrumah for the name, and for the dates I'm just going to say so this is just some dates I'm using over here, and you can see that everything is nicely presented out over here this way. So let me just copy this a number of times. So I'll do a Control C, Control V, Control V, and bring it down this way. And let me just change in the data over here. Okay, so here I have some names over here. Now, I believe my students know some of these national heroes in Ghana, but then for the purpose of education, those who may be watching outside of Ghana and don't really know the history of Ghana, this is Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. He was one of the frontliners who fought for our independence. And here we have Yaa Asantewaa. Yaa Asantewaa was a queen mother who fought in one of the battles against our colonial masters, the British. Then here we have J.B. Dankwa, who was with Kwame Nkrumah in the fight of independence. Then we have Tete Kwashi. Tete Kwashi was remain one of the great people in Ghana because he brought cocoa, one of our major international export cash crop. At a point in time, Ghana was the largest producer of cocoa, and I think just about now we are the second. Ivory Coast just overtook us a couple of years ago. But these are some of our national heroes. We celebrate them in Ghana. So basically, this is how we put up a table. Now, there are some few things I would want to show, and that has to do with the alignment. So if you would want to, for instance, align the data we have in this particular column to our right, currently you could see that they are aligned to the left. If you want to align them to our right, we just have to come inside of where we have this triple dash over here and just bring in a column. So clearly you could see that now it has been aligned to our right. If I want it centered, then I need to do a column before and after. So currently you can see that this is now aligned at the center. We can do same for the name. So for the name, I can do this, and this has been aligned to the right. And if I do this, it has been aligned middle. But then I think the default was okay as far as this is concerned. Okay, so now let's move on to other important things. Now let's say we would want to have some links, okay, where we can click on and go to, let's say, an external website. All that we need to do is to bring in a square brackets and give the name or the link, the text we want to see. So over here I want to say Cambridge Tech. So I want to have Cambridge Tech this way. Then I'll bring in a bracket this way, and I need to type in the URL over here. So over here I'm just going to say HTTPS, and I'm going to type in www.youtube.com/Cambridge Tech. So I'll save this, and let me scroll up. And now this inside of my document, when I click on this, it takes me to the link. Okay, it opens up in my default browser, and it says, okay, so I made a mistake, Cambridge Tech. So I needed to bring an N over here, Cambridge Tech. So I'll save this, and now when I come back and click on this, it now takes me to the Cambridge Tech channel. Okay, so this can be an external link we may want to add in our Markdown. All right, so now let's proceed and make progress. So the next one I want to do is how we can also add an image, and that is why I needed to bring this image at the start of everything. So now let's see how we bring this image. Now the image is also going to be similar to what we had with the link. Okay, and over here we need to provide a name. So for instance, I'm going to say flowchart image this way. So flowchart image, and I need to provide whatever thing I have over here. But then for the image to work, I need to prefix this with an exclamation. So currently, the moment I bring this we have over here becomes something like an alt text or an alternative text. If you are very familiar with the web development, you know what I'm referring to. So that's what you see over here. Now, in order to bring this image, I can do this. I can do a dot slash, and you can see that I have this help over here. So in here, I just want this flowchart dot jpg, and that's exactly what you see over here because that's the image I have. So now let me just give out let's say my image title over here, and dash 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 for the horizontal row. So this is my flowchart, and let me just open this up a little bit. You can see that it's looking very nice as we have over here. Now the next thing I would want to do, let me come down here, is to see how we can also give a block quote. So I'll do triple dash over here, and I'll call this block quote. Then what I need is 1 2 3 to get my horizontal row, and that's essentially what we have over here. So in order to get a block quote, we just have to bring in the greater than sign, and inside of this I just have to, for instance, say this is a block quote like this. Okay, and that's what you see over here. There's a block quote, and I can proceed to give other block quotes. So I'm going to say this is for instance another, and let me spell another correctly, and I'm going to say this is another block quote. But clearly you could see that this has been joined to this, and remember what I said, I can bring in a space, and in this case we're having 2 block quotes. But then if you want to have everything in 1 block quote but then giving out a space, then I can simply do this by doing it this way. Okay, so this block quote, you can see that we have this blue border to the left over here, and everything is looking good. These are some of the things you can do to bring some aesthetics to your code or to your work. The next thing I'm going to look at is how we write code. So in order to write code, we use this backtick, and I'm going to say this is some code. So this is code. So let me just write some proper code, and let's say we can do something like print, and in here we can say hello world. So we have print hello world, and I can prefix this with maybe some text. So this is a code, and you can see that everything is nicely formatted over here. All right, now this is just a single line code. If you want to have multi-line, let me just have my thing over here so I can say code. Okay, so if you want to have a multi-line, this is how we go about it. We use this triple backtick, so 1 2 3 to start and 1 2 3 to end, and in between we can write our code. So let's say I can say for x in range, and I'm just writing some Python code over here, for x in range 10, and I'll bring in a semicolon. Now just indent this, and I'll say print x. So this is looking good, but we can even make this look even better, and we can just come on top of what we have over here and specify the language in which this code is. So now this is Python, so I can simply do a py, so pi, and you can see that this has been formatted. I can proceed to type in Python, and this is looking good. Now let me do another one, for instance, for JavaScript. So I'll do a triple quote, and I'll end it over here, and I'll say something like console.log, and inside of this I'm going to say hello world. So this is how we kind of do print hello world in JavaScript. And over here, I can simply do JS for this to also show as a JavaScript, or I can type in the whole thing. So JavaScript like this. Either way, we are good to go. For simplicity's sake, let's just use JX. So this is looking good. Now this is going to make a lot of sense when we start working in our Jupyter notebook and also start working on our data analytics projects. Now I hope you find this very interesting, because indeed Markdown is very simple and very interesting to learn at the same time. And I hope you can just watch or go through this video line by line and everything is going to make sense. This will form part of the majority of the things you need in Markdown. There are a number of things you may need along the line, but then those are going to be for very rare and special cases. And if you just need any help, you can just come onto this. You can look through the basic syntax, and this covers most of the things we covered. Or you can also look at the extended syntax, and everything we are going to see is indeed going to make sense over here. So this is going to be the end of this video. Now if you find value in the content I'm putting out over here, kindly support my work by subscribing to the Kembro Tech channel. Also, don't forget to hit on the notification button so that anytime I release a video, you'll be duly notified. Share this video with friends and family who find this content very useful. At Kembro Tech, we say learn programming. You can do it. Bye bye, and catch you in the next video.